Okay, so I got the gasket set for this Porsche 924 Turbo for the lower end, and let's take a look at that. So, Victor Reintz gasket set. I bought this from Pelican Parts. Uh, Looks like I got rear main seal, front main seal, oil pan gasket. I believe that gray one is oil pump gasket. Um, anyway, it should have everything I need for the lower end. Um, and I've dug the parts out. I don't know if you guys remember, I kind of sorted everything by putting it all on the same shelving unit. So hopefully, it's been a while. It's been about a year since I took this engine apart, and I've been doing a lot of other stuff here in the shop. But, trying to keep these parts segregated and near one another is a challenge in itself. So oil pan, oil pickup tube with the strainer, and then the oil pump. So should be the things that I can get back on the block. Last segment I did, put the crank in and the pistons and the rods and fresh bearings and all that stuff. So all that's in order. I've kept it wrapped up in shrink wrap, again, because I'm doing other projects in here and I don't want to get it contaminated. So first thing is to clean the pan and the strainer and the pump up. So that's going to take a while here. I've got a parts cleaner with some diesel in it, but I don't know. This pan really is not that filthy. I'll probably just do it with some brake cleaner. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to be burning through a whole bunch of brake cleaner. But yeah, I'm not worrying about replacing the oil pump. This engine had good oil pressure. So I think the pump is fine. I didn't read about, I suspect that in here is some type of valve, release valve to control oil pressure. But again, it always came up correctly, so I'm not even going to disassemble that. And that might be a mistake. I may really hate myself later for not doing that. But anyway, let me clean this stuff up, and then we'll get started putting it all back together. All right, I got these parts cleaned up pretty good. The oil pump, the gasket was tough to get off. A lot of scraping. They even used a little polishing wheel to get some remnants off. Looks like I got still a couple little spots. The pickup tube cleaned up pretty well. What I did, I sprayed some brake cleaner up in that strainer and then shook it, and it got quite a bit of debris out there. It looked like maybe little bitty pebbles, or I don't know. It didn't seem metallic. I don't know how rocks get in oil, but it was kind of weird. But it was on this side of the screen, so that's good. That's where it should be. It got trapped. And then the oil pan, it cleaned up pretty good. I probably should have sent it down to get boiled also, but I didn't. It's much better than it was. So I think all this will go together nicely. I'm going to start with the pickup tube. Let me take a look at Haynes, make sure there ain't anything special about that. And we'll see where we go from there. So nothing special about the pickup tube. You got those two odd bolts that they're a combination of a bolt head and a hex. Although the hex just wants to strip out. And up top, it's just regular bolts. They're all 10 millimeter. And there's a little gasket that goes under the tube, and put a little sealer on there. I reused the plate, the locking plate. Haynes says to put a new one, but I didn't. And 7 foot-pounds, which is just hand tight. So next is put on the oil pump. It's got the front seal here. I'm going to use a big socket to drive that in evenly. Doesn't say how deep it goes, but there's an oil galley there. So I think flush is going to be plenty good. And then I'll polish it up pretty good on the mating surface. Front of the block, it needs to be a little cleaned up before I made it up. And there you go. All right, I got the oil pump back on. Little touchy getting it. There's a couple locator pins around there and there, I believe, on the inside. Also, you got to make sure you're gearing, because there's 2 ears on the crank that mesh up with the pump itself. So make sure that's lined up and give it a couple of taps with a soft hammer and it'll work its way on there. And torque the bolts down to 7 foot-pounds again. Starting in on the oil pan gaskets. Pay special attention where that round gasket, or the front and the back of the block, goes over the top of the flat gasket, because those are known problem areas. Well, hopefully I got a good seal. I mean, did it just like Haynes said. Start in the middle with the small ones. Work your way. I alternated, each side, working my way out. 5 foot-pounds on the small ones up front. Do these last. These are 6mm hex. Do 10 foot-pounds on them. Then you got a couple back in the back here. Same thing. The sealant's pooching out pretty good. So, should be good seal. And, yeah. Sure is not much torque on these, but I guess that's just the way. You don't want to mash the gasket too much. All right, I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything else I can get done. And we'll see what happens next. So it looks like I can go ahead and do the water pump. Looks like I got a little overspray over there when I was painting the block. So I'm going to take some 600 grit and get rid of that, just so I can get a good seal there. The pump, I checked it out. The bearings are fine. Impeller is good. So no reason I can't put that back on. I will replace this hose though, because it's pretty gnarly. All right, then, we'll knock that out. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. 3 small bolts, 6 foot-pounds, and a couple of larger ones, 16 foot-pounds. Bob's your uncle. I do have the little O-ring for the dipstick tube, so I can get that on. And that might be about it. I think the only other gasket included, well, I've got the rear main seal, but I can't do that with it on the stand, the end block on the stand. I've got this seal, which is, I think, is oil drain seal. And I'm not sure about this cork seal. I don't know where that goes. And then there's a big O-ring. That may be for the turbo. And of course the rear main seal, which I'll do later. So I'm going to put the dipstick tube on it and probably call it a day. Wrap it up, of course, keep dust and contamination out of the cylinders. So really need to get that cylinder head back from EBS Racing. Latest thing on that was, unfortunately, I ordered the wrong valves from the UK. I've got normally aspirated valves. I should have turbo valves. So I'm going to have to do a swapperoo or something. I may have some normally aspirated valves for sale online. If any of you guys need those, just make a comment, because I'll be getting those back from EBS Racing, brand new. So it's always something, but at least I'm starting to make some progress. Thanks for watching, guys. There'll be more.